Hey, we're back. I'm with Sean Coffey, director of the Lebanon Electric Company. We're going to talk about some of the jobs you have going on out here and also some opportunities for some skilled electric men.
Absolutely.
Journeymen, perhaps apprentices. Sean, how long you been with the electric company?
Well, I've been here for a little over 17 years now.
Okay.
It's really flown.
And I understand you got a background with the military as a CB.
I certainly do.
You want to tell us about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. I started out in the Army National Guard as a combat engineer for a while.
Okay.
And then I eventually transferred over to the Navy and to the Seabees because they do the same thing, and it's really combat construction.
Wow.
So they've got all different types of skills.
Yeah.
Anywhere from steel worker to electrician, plumber,
Okay.
concrete, carpentry, and pretty much build anything that is needed in difficult areas.
Well, I guess this compared to that's got to be easy. No one's shooting at you.
Yeah, it's easier in that aspect, but then you have different customers over here that you have to deal with.
Hey, how about comparison of the private sector and working for a municipality? Some differences between the two of those?
Yeah, because really, my initial background, I started out my career with DP&L.
Okay.
So I worked on the private utility side, and it was a great learning experience for me because you really get to see a lot of different variety. But of course, DP&L, Duke here, they've got a pretty big territory.
Okay.
So you travel a lot. And it's not really a stable, you're in one place for a couple of years, and then wherever they need you, you go to the next place. So it makes it very difficult to, once you have a family.
Yeah.
So once you come into a city like Lebanon and work here, it's a much stable environment as compared to that. You know where you're going every day, a lot of, working with the same people and the equipment, the environment, the system.
Sounds boring, but it's nice to have a schedule.
Yes, it's nice to have a schedule. And it's not boring because every day is different.
There you go. Yeah. I understand you accomplished quite a bit. We were debt-free with the electric company.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay. How did that come about?
Well, it was really a long-term plan. About 15 years ago, we were debt-heavy and cash poor.
Yeah.
So we really set out, the city, a lot of the administrators, to really set forth a plan to get there. So we really looked at everything from the revenue side, the expense side, how we do the business that we do, the material that we purchase.
Wow.
And we set out and put a plan in place to get there. So we've worked really hard, like I said, over the last 15 years to eliminate our debt and actually got our cash reserves up to where they need to be for a $34 million annual budget.
Yeah.
So, like I said, a lot of hard work from the entire team, everybody in the electric department. As an example, we have a construction technique called directional boring, where we bore conduit underground. And 15 years ago, we used a contractor to do that.
Okay.
Which was a lot more expensive to do than to bring that in-house.
Yeah.
So we really looked at that hard, and then we eventually bought a machine, trained our people, and now we directionally bore about 2 miles of conduit in the ground every year, which probably saves the city in the six figures every year by doing that. So that's just one of many examples where, like I said, we looked at everything, and it was a lot of hard work to get where we're at.
Sounds like good leadership. Hey, what do we have going on here on North Broadway? And again, summertime's got to be a great time for you to get work done. I can't imagine you guys working in the winter. Although now with the summer, the heat's almost as bad. I'm not complaining about the heat. I'll say I'm complaining for the winter, but you probably got a lot of stuff going on. What do you got going on here? Because this looks like it's going to be a big job. You need a lot of people. Can you tell us a little bit about this job?
Absolutely, and really this is a job that's been going on for probably 8 years.
Okay.
This is the fourth phase of this project. We call it our North Loop.
Okay.
It's a combination of transmission and distribution. And here you can see on North Broadway, we're starting at Miller and working our way down to the fairgrounds, and then eventually working through the fairgrounds to the very back end of it, and eventually going through the city cemetery.
Okay.
But what we're doing is we're building, as I said, a transmission distribution line here. Right now, as you can see up on Broadway, on the west side, we have our lines and some communication lines. And then on the east side, there is a communication pole line that runs down through there. So one of the goals that we want to achieve here is to consolidate that all down to one pole line.
Yeah.
So eventually when this new line is built, we'll have all of the lines from the west side transferred over to the east side.
Okay.
In preparation, if the city ever needs the west side for a bike trail,
Nice.
they have the space available to do that.
Yeah. Now I understand with all these jobs, there's got to be some work and some needs. Understand you have a need for some skilled journeymen and maybe some apprentices out there. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what your needs are and how people might be able to get a hold of you to meet those needs?
Absolutely, yeah. Right now we have a need for 2 journeyman linemen and 1 apprentice lineman.
Okay.
And really a journeyman lineman has gone through the 4-year apprentice program, achieved his journeyman status. So as I said, we need 2 of those, and then at least 1 apprentice. We have 2 apprentices right now that will become journeymen here in a year. So we're just continuing to build that into the department. We're only a department of 17.
Wow.
And right now being, 3 positions down and having projects like this in addition to the other 4 miles of line construction we do every year, it really puts a toll on the department. So
Wow.
we are in great need.
Yeah.
So
Well, if
people that are watching,
how do they get a hold of you to find out about this position?
the best way is to go onto the city website at
Okay.
LebanonOhio.gov, go under employment, and there's applications there. Fill out an application, bring it into the Human Resources Department here in the city,
Okay.
and we'll be in the next week or 2 looking at those and starting to go through that. And it's really open until we hire all 3 positions.
Yeah. Wow. It sounds like Lebanon's growing. Opportunities and jobs like that are there's a need. So is it the Career Center that people go and find out about getting that education as well, so we can send more young people? 'Cause young people need direction.
Yes.
And I think those types of careers are great careers. So do you recommend the program that we have at the Career Center? Is it pretty good?
Oh, yes, absolutely. We've hired people out of that program, and that's really the first step, because as a lineman, one of the toughest things, sort of the washout period for them, is learning how to climb a pole.
Yeah.
Like what you see behind us, that's a 70-foot pole.
Wow.
And there's times where they need to be able to climb a 70-foot pole. Not to mention the height.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Warren County gets them on a pole
Okay.
pretty much almost every day that they're up there.
So they're not always in the basket. They're climbing the poles with the gear on them. And
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, and that's sort of the first stage in their training program.
okay.
So yeah, I highly recommend that, because as you said, this field, a lineman career, is a very worthwhile career. It's very satisfying. If you like to work outdoors, if you like to work with your hands, you like to see progress happen, like what you see behind
Nice.
us, and it pays very well.
Yeah.
Power is not going away.
I bet the benefit package is pretty good too, being with a principality or municipality. And
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's one of the few areas that still has a pension program.
wow, fantastic.
So it's got pension and all the benefits associated with it. A lineman right now in the city is making over $35 an hour.
Wow, that's good. That's really
so
good.
you can make a very good living, have a family, and like I said, and there's a great need out there.
Hey Sean, if there is such thing as a typical day for the electric department, can you tell us what that would look like?
Boy, a typical day, there really isn't, which is good. As we talked about a little bit before, we get so much variety.
Okay.
Because not only do we do electric in the city, really anything associated with electric or any remote possibility. So to give you an example, when the Christmas decorations need to be put up,
Okay.
the electric department goes out there and hangs the ornaments on the tree, puts the Christmas lights and the wreaths downtown.
Wow.
And then, it could be that the water or wastewater department needs help getting trees out of the creek. So of course we have the resources, the manpower, plus the equipment. So we could be pulling trees out of the creek one day. We could be mowing right away. We've got what's called a FECON unit. FECON's a local company here that makes an attachment that goes on front of a skid steer that can
Okay.
chew down an 8 or 12-inch tree. So we go through the parks and help clear right away
So
through
you're
that.
doing that stuff too.
Yeah, there's plus we do line clearance.
Okay.
Obviously, trees are a big thing around power lines, so we have to maintain those. Plus, we help maintain the trees, the difficult trees in the cemetery, the ones that city workers don't have the bucket trucks or capability to get up and do things with. So we have to go out there. So there really isn't a typical day. There's just a lot of variety, which is good.
Yeah.
You know, that's one good thing about being in a city.
You guys got to be agile to be able to do all the things you do. This might sound like a silly question. What do you do with all the phone booths? Remember, they used to have phone booths. I mean, a lot of people now, they don't even know what a phone booth is. Okay, you don't see any of them. Do they destroy them? I'd like to get one. I mean, that would be a good nostalgic thing.
Yeah.
You know, a phone booth. I could see kids walking by. What is that thing?
Well, we have one in the power plant,
Do you?
believe it or not.
Oh, that's awesome.
We kept it. And,
Okay.
But yeah, that's the only one that I know of around in Lebanon.
Technology is just changing so much,
It
and that's
absolutely
got to be a
is.
factor for your job and what you do as well. Every time it changes, you got to change things. Yeah.
Yeah, it really is, and that's sort of the new skill in this growing electric utility field is the introduction and really integration of technology.
Yeah.
You know, before 15, 20 years ago, everything was still the way it was 80 years before. And now trying to bring in all of this technology. So really, like we talked about before, a lineman and an apprentice lineman, it's not just enough to be able to set a pole and string wire on the pole or put cable in the ground. Now they need to be able to work with a computer to look at the map, or to be able to go in there and diagnose things. Everything is all electronic now, so people really need to have that skill. And then going into our systems, they're bringing computers into like our substations. So you really need to know how to work technology to be successful in this job now. So that's a big change. It's really just evolving.
Training and qualifications, that sounds like a security for a great career.
Absolutely, absolutely.
So after this job is wrapped up, what other jobs do you have going on? Any other projects this summer or in 2018 that you got your sights on?
Yeah, we've actually got a couple. There's a building at our complex. We're right there in downtown on Sycamore Street.
Okay.
An old metal building we affectionately call the Green Barn.
Wow.
That's been a variety of different things and cut up. So we plan on replacing that. We're also looking at, we have generation. The city has had generation ever since the electric department has been here. And the generators that we have now have an average age of about 55 years old.
Okay.
So they're really past their useful life. So we're coming up with a future plan of how to replace those units and still have some capabilities here in the city. So
nice.
That's just short term. And as I said, you know, we only build 4 miles a year, so we keep busy.
Well, buddy, I appreciate what you do for our city and how you run it. Your leadership from the military's come over, and thank you. And thanks for giving us the update. Hey, we'll be back with the chamber in a minute. Thank you.